Empress Elisabeth of Austria, known to the world as Sisi, was born into Bavarian nobility in 1837. From a young age, she was spirited, free-thinking, and unaccustomed to the rigid expectations of royal life. Her early years were spent in the countryside, surrounded by nature and unburdened by courtly obligations. She was not destined for the throne, at least not at first. That role was intended for her older sister, Helene, but fate intervened. When Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria met Elizabeth, he was captivated by her beauty, wit, and gentleness. He surprised everyone by proposing to the 15-year-old Sisi instead of her sister. The sudden engagement launched her into the spotlight and into a world she neither expected nor desired. At just 16, Sisi became Empress of Austria in a dazzling ceremony held at the Hofburg Palace in Vienna. But the glittering crown came with heavy chains. The imperial court was a place of strict protocol, tradition, and surveillance. Her mother-in-law, Archduchess Sophie, viewed Sisi as immature and unfit to bear the responsibilities of an empress. Sophie took over the upbringing of Sisi's children and limited her influence in court affairs. The young empress, lonely and isolated, withdrew inward. Despite the hostility she faced, Elizabeth became a symbol of beauty and mystery across Europe. She had waist-length chestnut hair, a wasp-thin figure, and a deep dedication to physical fitness. She adhered to a rigorous exercise routine, unusual for a woman of her era, and followed a severe diet to maintain her appearance. Her image was immortalized in paintings, poems, and whispered admiration in royal courts. But behind the allure was a woman in turmoil. The death of her first daughter, Sophie, at just 2 years old during a voyage to Hungary, devastated Sisi. It marked a turning point in her emotional life. She became more withdrawn, developing an obsession with control over her body and her surroundings. Her marriage, once romanticized by the public, grew distant. Franz Joseph remained loyal to her, but he was consumed by the demands of empire. Sisi, in turn, sought solace elsewhere. She found refuge in travel. Throughout her adult life, Sisi became a perpetual wanderer, rarely staying in one place for long. She visited Greece, Hungary, Madeira, and even the Middle East. Her love of Hungary in particular became a defining aspect of her identity. She learned the Hungarian language, wore traditional Hungarian dress, and advocated for Hungarian interests within the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. Her charm and advocacy played a key role in the creation of the dual monarchy in 1867, where Franz Joseph was crowned King of Hungary, with Sisi at his side. But as time passed, Elizabeth grew more reclusive. She rarely appeared in public, refused to be photographed after the age of 30, and shielded herself behind black veils and parasols. Her identity became something of a myth, part woman, part legend. She wrote melancholic poetry, filled with sorrow, longing, and a deep sense of detachment from the world. Tragedy continued to shadow her life. Her only son, Crown Prince Rudolf, suffered from depression and struggled under the weight of dynastic expectation. In 1889, Rudolf was found dead alongside his mistress in what would become known as the Meyerling incident, a murder-suicide that shocked Europe. Elizabeth, already emotionally fragile, never recovered. She dressed in mourning for the rest of her life, spoke little, and avoided all celebrations. Her grief became permanent. And yet even in grief, she remained an enigma. She traveled with a small entourage, often under pseudonyms. She maintained an almost ascetic lifestyle, walked for miles each day, and refused the trappings of royal comfort. Her face, once adored by millions, was hidden from the world. She became invisible to her own people, a ghost in the corridors of empire. On September 10, 1898, in Geneva, Switzerland, that ghost met a tragic end. As she was walking along the promenade near Lake Geneva, an Italian anarchist named Luigi Lucchini approached her. He claimed to be seeking an autograph, but instead drove a sharpened file into her chest. At first, Elizabeth appeared unhurt. Her corset had stopped the bleeding, but moments later she collapsed. She died of internal bleeding shortly after. Her death shocked Europe. The beautiful, elusive empress, once the darling of the continent, had died not in a grand palace or among her family, but in a foreign city, at the hands of a man who didn't even know her personally. Lucchesi later confessed that he had planned to kill any royal he could find, and Elizabeth had simply been his unfortunate opportunity. In the aftermath, Elizabeth's legacy grew even more complex. She became a martyr to some, a symbol of romantic tragedy to others. Statues were erected in her honor. Her private writings revealed a woman who longed for peace, for escape, and for meaning. She had lived her life under the weight of expectation, fame, and personal sorrow. Today, Empress Sisi remains one of the most fascinating figures in European history. Her image has been romanticized in films, literature, and opera. Yet beyond the corseted portraits and regal titles lies a woman who sought freedom in a world that offered her none. A woman who, despite her status, felt deeply alone. A woman whose beauty masked unbearable grief. She was an empress, but above all, she was a human being, fragile, complex, and tragically misunderstood.